Hi, I'm business. I'm coming to your community today because I've got a project that I want to build in your area. I'm sure you're going to love the tax revenue. I'm sure you're going to love the jobs. I've got lots of data to support this. Trust me.
Hello, community. Hello, business. I'm community. I'd like to hear more about your project. I speak for the people, and I'm interested in the jobs that it will create. Lord knows we could use lots of jobs and economic advantages in our community. And I know that every project has to be approved by the government, so I think it must be good. We welcome you into our community. Please do as you please.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm the environment, and don't worry about me at all. You just go ahead, do your thing, and I'm sure everything's going to be great because you don't have to worry about me. I can look after myself.
The government approves it. I'm sure it must be good.
The government protects the environment, right? We're good. So, that's skit 1 of 3. This is the old paradigm. The old paradigm, what Michael Porter at Harvard University coined, what's good for business is good for community. Put up your hand if you believe that. What's good for business is good for community. If I'm making lots of money, then you're good. Environment's fine. We got regulations and we got all sorts of boards. Community, I'll take care of you. Don't worry. You don't need to speak up. All right. I sensed that there was only nobody that put up their hand.
There was one.
Let's reset. Let's start again. Let's do another skit. Reset in the evolution of what's good for business and what's good for stakeholder engagement. And notice the evolution here. Hi, I'm business. I've got a project that I want to build in your community. Trust me, you're going to love the employment, the tax base, the revenues, and everything that we do. And I've got lots of data to support this and to convince you. And oh yeah, by the way, last night I came into town a little early and I went to see the Pee Wee hockey game, and man, your arena's really cold. I was really cold in there. It's just not like the Saddle Dome out here. So, I'm gonna help you guys out. I'm prepared, if you approve my project, I'm gonna pay for natural gas heaters in your arena. Thank you.
Hello, business. We're so glad you're here. Heaters in the arena are great, but we need more than that. We need roads, we need schools, funds for a rainy day. Speaking on behalf of the community, I think there's a lot more that you can do for us. We want your project and your jobs, but we also want to recognize the benefits. And we know you make a lot of money off of using our land, so we just want you to be fair.
Wait a second. Community? What, are you going to sell me? I'm the environment, by the way. And are you going to sell me out for some heaters in the hockey arena? Are you going to sell me out? And you, Mr. Big Business, the environment is being forgotten here. You got to pay attention. If you don't pay attention, there are consequences. You don't want to make me mad. You won't like me when I'm mad. Smash!
All right, so how'd that feel? That is what most of us would, this is a grand oversimplification, so pardon me, but corporate social responsibility. Corporate social responsibility is where business is still paramount. And we attempt to respect the environment and respect the community. We engage and we do stuff. We pay for stuff. We try to earn and buy a social license.
Say we buy a social license.
That's not enough. Now, Iris is smiling because she knows where this is going. But let's talk about why is it that the world has got so many barriers, so much outrage, so much of business is actually hated? Well, I was pleased to hear Colin, for example, this morning from Shaughnessy, the greenest school in Canada, talk about business is good. We need to be entrepreneurs. We need to incent. So we're going to start again. We're going to reload in the evolution of what's good for business and stakeholder engagement. Hi, community and environment. Hello. You know me, I've been around for a while. I've got some ideas about projects and services I'd really like to provide and sell here and elsewhere. But I've realized that when I push my agenda, I just get a lot of resistance. I just don't get the timelines, the budget considerations, the efficiencies that I'd like to achieve. So like our friends at Synergy Alberta and the friends in this room, I've decided I am going to take the time. Are you prepared to collaborate with me so I can listen, learn from you both? And then whatever I come up with, we actually come up with together. And I'm hoping then I will make a profit.
Collaborate with us, the community, with the environment. That's new. I don't know. In the past, we haven't always been able to trust you, business. We want to. We want this to be beneficial for all of us. But how do we move forward from here? You're going to listen to us. Well, there are things in our community that we value. We do want clean air. We do want the land to be protected for many futures to come. But we're going to need absolute transparency. If you're willing to step up, I'm willing to act as a knowledge source for the community. But we have values, and we're not just going to accept any project. We need projects that meet our community values, that protect our environment. And if you're willing to look at the bigger picture, then I'm willing to talk.
Thank you.
I'm hearing something new here. Nobody has ever said they were going to actually listen to what the environment has to say. Nobody's ever said that before and meant it. Now you're going to have to do more than just talk. You're going to have to follow up. You're going to walk the walk as well as talk the talk. And if you are prepared to do that, then we can heal things. We can fix things. We can make progress that everybody benefits from. I'm in if you are for real.
I commit to being real, and I have no idea what this will look like. I'm hoping that we can start to respect and build the trust amongst ourselves, because I don't actually know where this is going to lead me. I hope that you respect that I am a business person. I want to employ people. I want to make money for my shareholders. And I'm prepared to be fully transparent and collaborate.
Well, just remember that if we don't all win, we all lose.
We want to win. We're in.
So these three skits, the first one was the old paradigm of what's good for business is good for community. Community is actually smarter than that. Environment does matter. The next paradigm has been corporate social responsibility, where we try to evidence our respect for the environment and community, but we always let business lead. Communities and the environment are always reacting, as we've seen in this 2-day conference at Synergy. The systems are reactive systems and regulatory systems. By the invitation to create shared value with collaboration, it's our opportunity to make this up. I don't know if I'll ever make a buck off this, but I know that I've been inflicted with death by 1,000 cuts from the resistance I get to the stuff I'm trying to sell you. If this is what you're asking me, I'm hoping for a better return for my shareholders. Now, this might seem a little loose. Chuck, Denise, Dave, have you got a template? Have you got a roadmap with where this takes us? What I want to say is, no, we don't. But listen to the words of community, listen to the words of environment, and recognize that we can create new, fresh ideas, new opportunities for the next generation leaders that we've never dreamed of before. The invitation that the three of us are making to each one of you in this room is actually, let's make this up. When we watch the panelists in the last 2 days, there's many gaps where we say, gee, that hurts. How did that get so far before the regulators, the compliance people, everybody else got involved? What if we actually took back control, and control was at the community level? What if synergy groups were actually the ones that business were asking permission to collaborate with, as opposed to the upside down world that we've been living the last 100 years? At this moment, I'll get back to what creating shared value is. But at this moment, I'm really honored, and I hope and know that you're going to enjoy Chuck Rose performing Win, 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 or Walk Away. Listen particularly to the lyrics. He's a beautiful composer, innovator, leadership specialist. But when I started doing my podcast, I asked Chuck, would you collaborate with me? And here's one of the 2 songs he came up with. So enjoy, Chuck. No exceptions, no excuses. This is a game that nobody's played, as Chuck's written here. Michael Porter and the Harvard folks, they talk about creating shared value. And Michael Porter was the one a decade ago said, what's good for business is good for communities. And he retracted that a couple of years ago to what's good for communities is good for business. We've all noticed and experienced the outrage, the resistance, the positions, the walls. You know, when we speak in New York, in Los Angeles, people will say, wow, I wish we were more Canadian. I wish we could get along. People in San Luis Obispo that I've worked with this year around outrage around a nuclear facility, Diablo Canyon, realized that they can actually dream their future. Realized that in fact, Pacific Gas and Electric, the big utility, is not the evil empire. They're not. I think all of the world realizes we're shifting big time. Think of innovators. You know, one of my favorite innovators is Elon Musk. Elon Musk, when he decided to leave South Africa and move to Canada, he graduated from, I think it was McMaster, went to Montreal to work at the Bank of Nova Scotia. And he had this idea about a dozen years ago. Hey, Bank of Nova Scotia, we should really get into this online banking thing. I think it's going to be a thing. And the Bank of Nova Scotia said, oh, we got regulations, we got rules, we got boards, we got stuff that protects people's money. Nobody would trust something like that, you know. Banking on the internet? Well, Elon left Montreal, moved to Silicon Valley, and was one of the later founders of PayPal. Guess who makes more money, Bank of Nova Scotia or PayPal? He then went on with Tesla. Do you know how many experts on automotive manufacturing and design work at Tesla? The number of people that he brought in from Tokyo and Detroit? 0. He brought the dreamers. He said, that's the old game. We don't need to play the Detroit game. Denise and Chuck are going to talk a little bit about scarcity and complexity. But when we come from our dreams, we can actually make this stuff up. Elon almost went bankrupt a number of times with Tesla. And last February, My son and 350,000 other people put $5,000 US down to buy a car from Elon Musk that probably won't be delivered for 2 more years. I think General Motors is saying, what the hell did we miss? He's taken in money and he hasn't even built the car yet. He hasn't finished designing the car yet. So Pacific Gas and Electric in California, the nuclear guys, they're as at risk as we are in communities. They're as at risk everywhere. The world is shifting, and while sometimes democracy can be crazy, people actually run this world. You run this world with your vote, your purchasing. So I want to go now to talk about, okay, well, what would that look like? I've talked about the shift in our opportunities, the opportunity to dream, to create it together. I've mentioned very briefly that the folks at Harvard don't actually know how to create shared value. So Denise, Chuck, and I, and David Melia at the Haskayne School of Business MBA program, and people, some of my collaborative global initiative partners in California, Ontario, New York, the Netherlands, and soon to be France and India, want to make this up. We want to create a roadmap, a process, a system. So what are we trying to make up? What is it that we don't know? Well, we know that this evolution has been necessary. We know that corporate social responsibility hasn't served the needs we hoped. Me putting in heaters in the hockey rink is a little bit insulting, if I could be a little bit insulting. Creating shared value where we talk about, what do you want for your community? It puts business to be informed by community. So where I go to here is, well, what are the things that people want to protect? What are your interests in your community? I don't know. Be prepared, because in a couple minutes I'm going to ask you, what would you like to make up? What's really important to you? And Julie this morning talked about circular economies. What are your interests? As some evidence, the World Economic Forum, in February of this year, published their report. And part of their report, and so this is not just some crazy guy from Synergy, Alberta. This is the World Economic Forum, Davos, Switzerland. Some of the brightest women and men in the world. What I'm showing you here is the risks the world are facing right now, according to that brain trust. The vertical axis is risk. The horizontal axis is likelihood, risk of impact. And rather than playing politics or debating endlessly as to whether it is or not, this group of smart people say the highest impact and the highest risk to the world, according to the World Economic Forum, is failure of climate adaptation. It is cyber attacks. It is involuntary national migration. It is the failure of financial institutions. Those are all pretty scary things. Let's bring it back to us. For me, for my community in the Kootenays of British Columbia, my fears are the young, smart people continue to leave. They go away to Calgary, to New York, to London. We get smaller and smaller. My fears are the people that ride ATVs, and some of them choose to just make up their own trails and continue to desecrate the forests, the Crown public lands. My fear is many active Canadians will continue to spend tens of millions of dollars to go bike riding in France when we have the Trans-Canada Trail, the largest non-motorized trail in the world, goes from the Atlantic to the Pacific to the Arctic. And in my area, we're about to unveil what we're told is the most amazing trail in the world, from Cranbrook to Wardner. It's a 42-kilometer trail. And some of you have known me enough that I love conflict, right? The reason we got that trail built is because people hated what we were doing. We couldn't stay on the rail line. We couldn't stay on a flat rail trail. The offsetting landowners were just outraged. How dare you come close to me? You're going to do bad things to my land, my cattle, my farm. So we actually had to take the Trans-Canada Trail halfway up Mount Baker and then back down. And people are saying, wow, this is amazing. So my point is, those are just 3 examples where I think they're interests of Savage, they're interests of my community. I think they're interests of you, because I see a number of heads nodding. I just wanted to open up for a moment, and Chuck and Denise add in if you wish. You know, do you see where we're heading here? We're heading to a co-creation where business is actually taking the cues from the environment. Business is taking the leadership from you as community leaders. The cue that it is so important for Synergy Alberta and others not to allow yourselves simply to react to business plans, to industry. You know, I'm a capitalist. I've been an entrepreneur all my life. I love money. And I've learned that the way, 12 years ago, when I was running a little oil and gas company, the resistance and the conflict, and when I actually shut up and listened to community and shut up and listened to the environment, together we collaborated and we came up with a plan, a pipeline plan and gas compression plan that was absolutely not in any of our minds when we proposed it. And 6 months later, our company share price tripled. So this is not just Synergy Alberta woo-woo. This is the way to get stuff done. Yes, it takes a lot of time, but trust and respect that are at the heart of this are so important.
So one of the things that I want to say, when you were talking of Elon Musk, we have the opportunity here in Alberta. I mean, we are on the world stage for energy, whether we like it or not. And I think it's a great place to be, but it puts us in a position where we can be a leader in change. We can be a leader showing the world how to do this differently. And one of the things that struck me as you were talking is there are ways of doing this. So imagine yourselves at your table and you're all trying to figure out the solution to a problem. There's 8 or 10 of you around this table and you're shooting ideas back and forth. It's like ping pong. It's all over the place. It's messy. It doesn't really go anywhere. But imagine if you could sit across from each other and filter your ideas all in the same direction and work together towards a problem all in the same direction. You bring in all the perspectives and you talk about the same thing rather than being positional. You figure out solutions. There are ways to do this and to do it really well. And Alberta has a fantastic opportunity to be a world leader in this.
And it's only going to happen if we can let go of our personal agendas, and if we can, we were talking earlier, and we were talking about a scarcity mentality. And the scarcity mentality is what leads to greed. It's what leads to people saying, I've got to get more because if I don't get more, I won't have enough. And if we can just get to the point where we realize that there is enough, that if we are willing to be generous instead of greedy, we can change the world. We can, instead of looking at it, so how can I win and somebody else lose, if we can look at it as win-win, and where everybody wins. I know I'm in the restaurant business. I own a pub here in Calgary, and the only way that my pub is successful is if my customers feel like they're winning by eating there, my staff feels that they're winning by working there, and of course, I have to feel like I'm winning or I won't stay in business. So we all have to win. And if everybody wins, then that's a success. The only way we do that is if I don't try to screw people, I don't try to sell a product for more than it's worth, I don't try to get my staff to work for less than they're worth. I pay them. My motto with my payment for my staff is not how little can I pay you to get what I want, it's how much can I afford to pay you. And I'll pay the most I can afford because that's a win-win-win. So that's, yeah.
So
David.
I want to give you another example, and then I'm going to ask you to give your comments on the evolution of the new economy, new business. But I want to introduce Dinesh Advani. Dinesh, could you stand up? Dinesh has worked for BlackBerry, he's worked for Corel, WordPerfect, many of the great and Canadian-based software innovation companies. As Paul had shown, there's a link that you can call up on your smartphone on the first and second last slides here. Dinesh is working with us because when we do consultation where we try to make this stuff happen in the moment, you know, some of us aren't comfortable standing up. Some of us are way more comfortable pulling out our smartphone and answering some questions or providing the speaker, you know, telling Denise, here's what I feel. So Dinesh has given that to us for absolutely no cost right now. Dinesh and Dialogue Loop, and this is not a paid commercial, but it's an example where we've got world-class skills and abilities right in this room. Each one of you has answers to this new economy. And of course, as Dialogue Loop gets known and we help Dinesh and promote his work, I build it into my webinars now so people around the world can participate in surveys just like you can. So the bottom line is democracy matters, your voice matters. And I, as business, I'm slow to learn, but now I'm learning that I need to figure out this, and I'm looking to you to help me figure out. So comments, thoughts on the evolution of what's good for business. We've still got about 15, 20 minutes, but I want to get some feedback now, please.
Chuck, schmotzy comes to mind.
I'm sorry?
Schmotzy.
Schmotzy.
What is smush? I can't even say.
Fancy name for gold.
Ha!
Whoa.
Okay.
In your restaurant world, you have a set of rights and I have a set of rights as a customer, and we are of equal footing. In our small world around here, public policy, Albertans have said we're not of equal. So I get the right to come into your restaurant. You have to serve me. You can't say no.
I can say no.
No. In our context of Synergy Alberta,
Okay.
you don't have the right to say no. I get the right to order what I wish. And then if we have a disagreement on price, I get to set the price. You get to decide whether or not you like the price. If you don't, we have a body that will take 2 years to figure out whether or not the price is of importance to both you and I. So take that in our context of our oil and gas world or our resource development world, we are not of equal characters. So I challenge your win-win-win, and when I look back at some of my training, what Nash came up with, the only way you get to the value curve and when you go beyond the value curve is, yes, you have equal partners, imperfect information, and you can move beyond the value curve. But in our resource world, public policy have said we are not of equal players. The company is an agent for the crown. So he has a job to make sure the resources brought out for public policy pieces, social, hospitals, schools, universities. So your scenario of win-win-win, I challenge you in the fact that it only really works if you're of equal players. And unless you change the public policy piece where all of the players, the environment, the community, the businesses, the ground, all of equal value, your model, I think, will fail.
Okay, well, let's continue on. I'm going to talk about collaboration, and thank you for that, because you're right, the model is failing. You know, some of my friends in Trans Mountain and Enbridge, you know, they spent a hell of a lot of money trying to get what regulations say they should get, and pipelines are not being built. So politicians write inform the law, inform the regulations. People vote for the politicians. So we need to turn this upside down. Now, and I'm a big boy, I'm maybe the oldest guy in the room, but with my 40 years experience in leadership and negotiation, conflict resolution, team building, I don't have a big enough ego to say I can change the world. I want some of you to work with me so we can change our world. So one more comment.
David, can I just,
John?
I agree with you that the current paradigm is broken. It's not working. Okay, and right now we're creating winners and losers, and government is arbitrating some of that, and it's all because people are coming into the original mindset with the idea that I'm going to win and I don't care if you lose. And we need, what we're suggesting, I think what I'm suggesting as part of this is we need to get past that. The whole world needs to get past that, or the world won't be fit to live in another generation.
Okay, back here, Rick.
Yeah, and, I wanted to just come back to something you said earlier, is we need to let go of our agenda to make it work. I suspect in many ways it's more what we need to do is properly understand our agenda and how to pursue it more effectively. Because what I've seen in synergy groups, I've seen it at CASA where I work, I've seen it at the start of the process, at the first meeting, people go around the table and I want this. I want the dark, but 6 months in or however many months in, they realize, no, that really wasn't what I wanted. And so I think that process is really key to help people understand, because when I look around the sort of old economy businesses that are in many cases struggling, that they can't let go of, no, we got to get the most money, and in order to get the most money, we got to pay the least, so they end up with crappy food in a crappy restaurant, nobody comes, so they go broke, but well, I guess we got to pay them even less and have even crappier food, or whatever. So I think one of the challenges, and I think the companies that I see and the organizations that are doing well are the ones who take it a couple steps back and say, so what is my agenda really, and how do I really pursue it in this environment?
And I just want to speak to that and say, absolutely, you're right. When I was doing my training in school in negotiation, I remember learning that you should spend 10 hours of preparation for every 1 hour that you plan to negotiate. And I think we come into groups and we haven't taken even a minute to think about what's important to us or why it's important to us. We just know what we don't want, and we haven't really explored that. So you're 100% right. If we can step back, lead people through that process of figuring out, in communities, who they are as a community, what they want, what's important to them, why is it important, I think you're going to see a lot more opportunities open up that will fit their agenda.
So we want to engage you in the conversation. Go to Dialogue Loop to engage us. We want to host this. I want to challenge again Synergy Alberta and everyone in this room to say, rather than listening to panels tell us what the system is, what if we actually proactively created a better system for our communities. That's possible, and that's world leading, and it's Canadian, and there's a yearning for this globally. You know, I'm feeling that you're wondering, well, what does this look like? So I'm going to go a little bit into what this looks like, but please be clear, I don't know the answer. I know that CVS, pardon me, not CSV, CVS Pharmacy in the United States adopted the creating shared value mantra, the philosophy. So Walmart still considers themselves as a seller of goods and drugs. CVS in America considers it to be your health partner. Whatever you need for your health, I'm there. Energetically, can you feel the difference in that? One, I'm trying to sell you shit. The other one is like, whatever it is, webinars, healthy foods, we're going to go there. So there's one example, and there's very few examples. With this slide, and again, you download it from the link, it'll be available through Synergy. What we're saying is corporate social responsibility is not enough, because it still puts business in charge. It still puts the profit motive as paramount, and then community and environment is left over there. They come second. You respond in your community. You respond as an environmentalist. By creating shared value, we start with our values, we come closer together, and I actually can't make a move until I've collaborated with these two, community and environment. I cannot succeed. Yes, there will always be very successful billionaires who make a ton of money. And yes, most boards of directors want rock star leaders or presidents or prime ministers. Nobody can be a rock star. Our world is far too complex now. Only by learning together, by having each of your wisdom, can we actually figure this out. And only for me as a business person, by figuring out what your interests are and figuring out what you'd like me to provide to you, do I get the green light. So we talk about collaboration. I put myself out there as Mr. Collaboration. What the heck is that? You know, in my book, I'm delighted to say it took 4 years in the birthing. Some of you are in the book. Thank you so much. There's 100 experts from around the world on collaboration. And there's this template, the 10 essential steps. A couple of years ago, I started to challenge people in my workshops, in my webinars, to say, if you do not hear the word collaboration in the next 24 hours, I'll give you 100% of your money back, Keith. I haven't given back a nickel. And just notice, collaboration, you know, it's like Hail Mary, you've got the holy water, you know. The other holy word you can use is sustainability. I say bullshit. We actually don't know how to work together yet. We're figuring this out, and without all the voices, we can't figure it out. What most people call collaboration is actually calling a manipulative meeting, and I'm purposefully being outrageous, but a lot of you are nodding and smiling, is, well, if I get the right people in the room and I can convince you that you're going to love you're going to buy in, and I'm going to make you feel like Dinesh, it's your idea. That just, you know, it makes me so small. It minimizes my possibilities. The design of your collaboration is purposeful. You know, we design hockey teams, we design football teams, we design governments, we design synergy groups. Why wouldn't we design our collaborations? We've talked a little bit over the last 2 days that, you know, when people get stuck in their positions and their anger and their hostility and their outrage, one of the things that we do that is so successful is you take them outside. You have a walking meeting. Literally, now this is a little weird, but In the last few years, there's been more and more nano research on trees. And what we're finding is actually trees do communicate. We can hear trees. My wife is a professional forester, and she says, yeah, it's not only just about hugging trees. When you hug a tree, you can actually hear the tree living. They've found that acacia trees actually communicate with acacia trees 100 meters apart. So this is a bit of a preamble to the song that Chuck is going to end our session with today, because we can't separate. We can't believe in rock stars, Hillary, Donald, Justin, Angela. They're not going to save us from ourselves. You know, it's our time to stand up. This is the new economy. Lord Shaughnessy students are the ones that are going to make it real. And those in my demographic need to turn to coaches and mentors and away from control. So in my collaborative global initiative, I mentioned, in addition to Chuck and Denise and I and many of you in this room, we've got people around the world doing this work, starting this framework, starting these discussions to say, we are not going to wait for Michael Porter to figure this out. We're going to work with the farmer's advocate and find how do we stop people from saying, well, probably you're going to have to go to court. You know, how about if we just change the rules here? How about if we, you know, Karen, how about if we get people to take charge, let democracy work? Because the command and control just gets into command and control. It doesn't serve most of us, most of the time. So why collaborate? Well, I've put up some of the examples. I think for me, why collaborate is because I don't know very much. And it's not only a sign of getting older and older, it's a sign that the world's changing so rapidly, there is so much complexity that I rely on you. And I rely on people to tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. I rely on people pushing back to say, hold on, Dave, you've missed a point. So that's why I collaborate. That's why I realize that together we are better. You know, last night, and any of you that want to go on YouTube, watch Working Together, the video that Synergy Alberta, Chris Hishung from Hidden Story, Denise Chartrand from Collaborative Engagements, and I put together, I think it's 6-7 years ago, that provides some of the evidence on why industry actually doesn't work without collaboration, without synergy, without respect, without innovation. It doesn't work anymore. So we invite you into the conversation. If you choose to go away and saying, well, that was interesting, I really enjoyed Chuck's songs. Dave didn't know how. That's okay. Or I also invite you to take this leadership role for yourself, your organization, and your community to say, what if we actually created shared value? What if we collaborated and made it up so we are in control? And therefore, we need less government, less boards, less lawyers. And we recognize the fact that we are in a digital economy. You know, our students from Lord Shaughnessy, they can find answers on their smartphones way faster than I can ever think about the question. So let's accept that we are a global movement. Let's accept that it's not going to work for most situations. We're trying to figure this out. And I invite everyone to join in the conversation and create a template, create a roadmap. Let's not wait for Harvard. Harvard are smart folks, but they're not us. So I'd like to thank you. And before Chuck goes, I think it's really important that community, business, and environment actually link here. I think that's the only way it is. Thank you for your time. And Chuck is going to close us out with a beautiful song that I think says it all.